Good evening, this is Atmospheric Alex here with yet another tropical weather outlook and discussion, this time for August 14th, 2025. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the uncertain future of Erin here, of Tropical Storm Erin, currently located right down here, just to the east of the Leeward and Windward Islands. We're going to go right on ahead and take a look at satellite imagery here of Tropical Storm Erin, and it has become really well organized throughout the day today, actually developing some banding features, maybe even some spiral banding features towards the end there, and this has been hovering right above the 16-degree north latitude line here, so it's not really gaining too much latitude yet. I mean, you get a little bit of a rise, but it looks to be moving due west once again, due to some northeasterly wind shear that you could see in your cloud filaments up here, blowing like this, and so your center of circulation is being majorly displaced right now. As we take a detailed look at the National Hurricane Center's cone of uncertainty for Erin, you will notice that the cone has indeed shifted a little bit further south, but still, your leeward, your windward islands are not under the cone. I do think that could maybe change a little bit on your far northern islands, but we're just going to have to wait and see. This is anticipated to move off to the west-northwest, then curving off to the northwest later on, and becoming a major hurricane well to the north of Puerto Rico, and then potentially curving out to sea, though. Areas a little bit further off to the west here, I'm talking about you guys over here in the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, need to be watching this very closely, as you could see tropical storm impacts. Could we even be pushing hurricane impacts on your far eastern islands? Well, only time will tell. And we're going to take a nice look here at your sea surface temperatures, currently sitting well into your low to mid 80s right now where Erin is currently located. This is anticipated to continue moving off to the west-northwest and then sort of probably something like this, and maybe a little further east than that, but you can see it will begin to track into waters in the upper 80s here going into this upcoming weekend. Could we even see a 90-degree reading thrown in there? Potentially, and this is going to cause significant rapid to potential explosive intensification if all the other environmental factors actually line up, and there is our big uncertainty. And we're going to go right on ahead to our EPS ensemble. This is your European ensemble, and is made up of 50 different members. So each low pressure system you see here is an individual member, okay? We do not have 50 hurricanes heading towards the US. But as we back it up a bit, you can see here with Erin passing just barely to the north of the Leeward and Windward Islands, just a bit of a close shave there with tropical storm conditions likely in that area. And this will continue to move off to the west. Some of your ensemble members are incredibly close to, like pen's acting up there, they will be incredibly close to your Turks and Caicos and Bahamas region here. A couple of them bringing hurricane conditions directly onto the islands. So this is something we really need to watch out for as we go into Monday and Tuesday of next week. And this continues on through. Don't mind that random member there spawning a tropical storm and going like this. That is just complete and utter chaos. It's not going to happen. And you can see that there's some of these ensemble members showing a Category 5 potential. That is definitely not a forecast, but certainly a Category 4 hurricane is likely at this point as it passes just in between Bermuda here and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. You can see a lot of ensemble members sticking really close to the Outer Banks here, bringing tropical storm conditions and extreme amounts of surf of 30 to 50 foot waves along the immediate coastline. This pushes on through, and some of your members get even closer, indicating potentially hurricane conditions just offshore here, and that is going to be something we really need to watch for. Some very intense, violent members here showing up. And then this all should eventually push out to sea. You still have your lone member making landfall, and then we have stuff to watch afterwards. And now we're going to take a look at our European operational model, and you can see where it starts off over here. Passes decently to the north of your Leeward-Windward Islands. I still expect tropical storm conditions possible there. And this will continue moving off to the north and west, really missing your Turks and Caicos and Bahamas. This is not a forecast, though, and we have seen models pushing it all the way over here. That is still a possibility, believe it or not. If you could see this high pressure system out here indicated on the models, some of them want it to be a lot stronger, nosing out like this, which would go on right ahead and push Erin a little bit further to the west. And we've been seeing this as a consistent trend on our models. We really have to watch for this. And the system could potentially pass safely out to sea here, right smack dab in between your Outer Banks and Bermuda. A perfect escape route for this system. No harm, no foul. Done maybe some high surf along the coast. But this could very easily shift back to the west or the east. Most likely the west, as models realize that ridge a little bit more. And then this goes ahead right on through. Some potential limiting factors is your wind shear. As we take a look here, it looks decently okay as of now, but I would like to note you do have some northeasterly wind shear here on your eastern edge of your system, and that is causing a lot of problems with your center being bullied off to the south a little bit more than models suggest. And this should continue for a very long time. And still, I mean, as we're going on through into Saturday, you could still see some of your wind shear that's a little bit evident here right over your system. Between 20 to 25 knots of shear is possible. And this really keeps this thing weak on the European model, and even more northerly shear. Again, if this gets displaced from its own anti-cyclone here and, is over here, it could be facing a lot more intense wind shear, causing it to go further south and causing it to be weaker. Definitely something you do not want to hear about, especially if you're in your Turks and Caicos and Bahamas area. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but again, any westward shifts could significantly cause an increase in impacts out here, to say the least. And this does continue moving. More northerly wind shear, again, that is something to monitor. Finally breaks loose of whatever that was, and we see a lot more of an anticyclonic outflow, and rapid intensification would ensue into a Category 4 hurricane at this point. How about your dry air? We're going to have a couple of issues, not too much though. You could see a fairly well-defined moisture pocket, especially on your eastern edge of your system here. As we go through time, you're going to see more of this dry air out ahead of it, trying to affect it a bit, but to no avail. It does eventually cocoon itself in its own moisture pocket, and this right here would intensify a whole lot faster than this model suggests, possibly down to your 940s, 930s, even down to your 920s when it comes to millibars and your pressure here, suggesting a very intense hurricane, and that goes off to your northeast. Now we're going to look at your GFS ensemble here, and this is actually your 18Z running on through. So this is brand new data. I haven't taken a look at this yet at all. This goes dangerously close to your leeward and windward islands here. Look at that. Almost shows a direct landfall there. So folks here, you need to be getting prepared immediately for tropical storm force conditions at the very least, as we have seen significant southward shifts as of late. This pushes on through, and then you can see quite a few members getting very close to your Turks and Caicos here. This is brand new data, and this is definitely a westward shift here. That is something we need to watch for. But your grand majority is still well off to the north and east. And one more thing, you could see just how strong your ridge of high pressure is out here, and it is starting to nose in a little bit further west, causing Erin to shift just a little further west as well. Again, this is something models are struggling to pick up on at times, and you could see quite a few members here. Look at this. A massive spread in your track here. You could see something as far out as here, and as something as close to here. Anywhere within this area, this is likely a 500-mile wide spread here. So we are very uncertain on our track, unfortunately. But we do have members taking it in for a North Carolina landfall. That is something we're going to monitor. And this will be going on in through Thursday into Friday. You could see a couple more. This is dangerously close to your Outer Banks region. There are a few ensemble members, so please stay very weather aware if you're along the immediate coastline. Still, the grand majority of these do take it well out to sea. No harm, no foul, but not a forecast. Now, how about your brand new GFS operational model run? Again, I have not taken a look at this. Let's continue on through and see. This passes kind of off to the north here of your leeward windward islands. That is some great news, but this is just one model. This will continue on off to your west here and actually turns a little bit sooner than I would expect. And yeah, I mean, gets a little bit closer to Bermuda in this run. Tropical storm force conditions potentially impacting Bermuda going on through into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but there's a ton of uncertainty. And your pressure here does suggest a Category 4 hurricane potentially as it passes right near there. And then we do have another tropical wave behind that one. We're going to need to watch this one very closely as this could cause more impacts. Now, how about your European AI model run here? This is going to be your 12Z ensemble. You can see takes it extremely close to, again, the same exact areas I have been talking about. Actually shows potentially direct landfall yet again. So I think it'll be a little bit off to the north of those islands there, but, only time will tell. It depends on how strong this high pressure ridge is out here. And this will continue moving off to the west, and definitely quite a few members here making a dangerously close pass again to the Outer Banks. High surf conditions are going to be expected, and maybe even some marginal storm surge along the coast, so we need to monitor this. And again, a very big model spread indeed, across this whole entire area. A lot of uncertainty remains in the picture, arguably more uncertainty than yesterday. Now for your European AI model here, you could see again a close pass here, and then it continues off to your west, and then shoots the gap comfortably again between your Outer Banks and Bermuda. So that is some great news there from that model. There's potentially some minor consensus here that it could just literally go right in between the two with your best case scenario, but please do not get so hung up on that just yet. Now for your Canadian model, we're going to speed right on through this. You get the big picture here. This actually curves it out to sea a lot earlier, and Bermuda sustaining much more significant impacts with your tropical storm force winds. Now here's something for a change, your Icon model. Let's see what that does. This is your Germany model right here, and boy, oh boy, does it take it close to your islands. And this actually shows it continuing further west due to your ridge nudging out like this right over here, pushing Erin off to the west as well in tandem. So again, if we do see a stronger ridge out here, this could be a big issue. And it brings hurricane conditions to the Turks and Caicos. Bahamas gets a close shave. It could become a Category 5 according to this model run, not a forecast. And then right offshore of your Outer Banks, hurricane conditions right there. So this is a big outlier model, so please do not put any stock into it just yet. But again, it is our cloud of possibilities, if you will. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at your hurricane models here. We're going to start off with your HAVS A model, and we're going to take a look at our initialization here. As you can see this morning, this thing was at around 16 degrees north in latitude, and I'm going to explain why this is super important. So throughout the day today, we saw it moving gradually to the west-northwest, and we come up to here, 00Z Friday. This is 8 p.m. This is basically right as you're watching this video, and you can see I want you to pay attention to your latitude values over here, right? So as you can see right now, this model thinks that is around 17.2 to 17.3 degrees north in latitude. And if you remember from the satellite imagery at the beginning of this video, this is completely wrong. It's actually around 16.7, 16.8. So it is actually definitely off to the south of this model here, and that is very important. That could push this further west in the long run. But anyways, we're going to take a look here. This system does maintain intensity pretty well going into tonight and then to tomorrow, and we could potentially see this becoming a hurricane by tomorrow evening here. You can see on your northeast side of your system where you have your tan colors and even getting into your maroon colors. Again, that is hurricane force winds. But let's not do too much detail here. This thing does pass off to the north of your Leeward and Windward Islands, but does bring some local impacts here of tropical storm force winds on some of your islands here, and even on some of your northern islands as well, with some locally stronger, maybe even damaging wind gusts from your thunderstorms that form in your outer bands. This continues on through. This is going into Saturday for these impacts, by the way. and this could strengthen into a major hurricane. This does show a Category 4 hurricane by the time we reach Sunday, so something important to watch there. And this does track it very, very close to your Turks and Caicos Islands here, with strong winds, with potentially even severe thunderstorms on your outer bands containing 40 to 60 mile-an-hour wind gusts. So some localized damage is possible from this run, so you do have your impacts listed there, and this becomes huge going into Monday and Tuesday. Your HAVS B model shows roughly the same thing. As we continue on through time, this goes north of the islands. Again, we don't have to say the same thing over and over again, right? Look at that, interesting eyewall replacement cycle that is noted on this model run. Will that come to pass going on in through Sunday and Monday? We'll have to wait and see. So your wind field does expand, but this stays much further off to the north and causes literally not many impacts to people to the south. Your HWRF model, or HWRF, as an abbreviation, does pass this pretty close to your leeward islands here, and your windward islands, again, showing potentially tropical storm conditions on your far northern extent, and this continues through. This continues tracking it off to the west, and definitely off to your north, takes a pretty good sharp curve off to your north here towards the end of the forecast period, and that is what you all want to hope for. You do not want impacts to any of these areas in here. Your HMON model, again, not sounding like a broken record, so we'll go past this. Same song and dance for those islands. And then again, further off to your north. So your HAVS A model is your southern outlier. I think, in my opinion, is the most reliable model we've got right now, because it tries to initialize your center of circulation a bit further south than your other models. And that is still not south enough, because we know where Erin is right now, right? Now, we do have another area of interest we need to be watching. This over here is Invest 98L, which is located, in your Bay of Campeche region here. And this right here could get its act together into a tropical depression to a tropical storm and move up into this general area here near Corpus Christi, Texas, San Antonio, Galveston there, and bring a lot of rainfall. Now, there is currently a slight risk for excessive rainfall in these areas. We could potentially see an upgrade again if things get a little bit more intense on the stormy side of things, so we're going to have to watch out for this, but this will definitely be bringing impacts to the Texas coastline here. Alright, and with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, and share this video with friends and family on social media. Also, be sure to leave a comment in the section below if you found this video informative, educational, and entertaining, I guess I could say as well. Hopefully I didn't bore you all today. Alright, you all stay very weather aware, in your leeward, windward islands, and especially your Turks and Caicos and Bahamas there. We could see a very close pass if your ridge out here to the east trends stronger, and of course Bermuda and your outer banks in North Carolina all need to remain on high alert for this system. Okay, you all have a wonderful night, everyone.